What if I told you that some of the greatest players in NBA history weren't even drafted? Every year, NBA teams spend millions of dollars scouting and analyzing the best young talent, searching for the next superstar. They break down every stat, every skill, every intangible, yet somehow they still overlooked these guys completely. No first-round picks, no second-round picks, nothing. But instead of giving up, these players fought their way up from the bottom, proving every general manager who passed on them wrong. They went from undrafted nobodies to NBA legends, winning championships, making all-star teams, and even earning a spot in the Hall of Fame. Today we're going to be breaking down the top 5 undrafted NBA players who made it big, the players who refused to let one night define their careers, so let's get right into it. Number 5, we have Bruce Bowen, the defensive nightmare. If you played against Bruce Bowen, there was a 99% chance that you hated him. Bowen was never the most skilled player, the most athletic, or the biggest scorer, but what he was a defensive menace, one of the most feared perimeter defenders of his era. After going undrafted in 1993, Bowen's journey to the NBA was anything but easy. He bounced around the basketball world, playing in the CBA, now the G League, France, and even Puerto Rico. He was cut multiple times before finally getting an NBA contract. But when he landed with the San Antonio Spurs, everything changed. Bowen became the ultimate role player and a crucial part of San Antonio's dynasty. A 3-time champion, an 8-time all-defensive team selection, and one of the best lockdown defenders of all time. And despite being known for his defense, he still shot 39% from 3 for his career. Very solid. Bowen wasn't flashy, he didn't put it up crazy stats, but he helped the Spurs win championships, and that's all that matters. Definitely a successful career coming from an undrafted spot. Number 4, we have Fred VanVleet. VanVleet's entire career can be summed up in one phrase: bet on yourself. Coming out of college, VanVleet was a 2-time All-American at Wichita State and one of the best point guards in the country. But on draft night in 2016, he did not hear his name called. Instead of going overseas or signing a bad deal, VanVleet took a gamble on himself. He joined the Toronto Raptors Summer League squad and worked his way up from G League to an NBA contract. And he would eventually get a shot in the NBA, and he never looked back. By 2019, he was a key player in the Raptors' first ever NBA championship. In the finals, he hit some of the biggest shots in franchise history, taking down the Golden State Warriors. Now, since then, he's been an NBA All-Star level player, signed a $130 million contract, making him the highest paid undrafted player ever. He went from overlooked to maybe overpaid, but in the best way possible. At number 3, we have Udonis Hasslam, the heart of Miami. Some players put up big stats, some players become superstars, and then there's some guys like Udonis Hasslam who became the heart and soul of an entire franchise in Miami. After going undrafted in 2002, he played overseas in France and completely transformed his body, shedding nearly 50 pounds to get into NBA shape. The Miami Heat gave him a chance, and he never let it go. For the next 20 seasons, Hasslam became the ultimate role player and leader, helping guide Miami through multiple eras. A 3-time champion in 2006, 2012, and 2013, the all-time leading rebounder in Heat history, and he's really the definition of that Heat culture which we know today. He wasn't the most talented player, but he was one of the toughest, earning the respect of every superstar who ever played in Miami. The best part, he spent his entire career in Miami, loyalty at its finest, and they would repay him by making a whole section in the stadium and retiring his jersey. At number 2, we have John Starks, who went from bagging groceries to dunking on MJ. Now, John Starks' story sounds like something out of a Hollywood script, something that may be related to an NFL player in Kurt Warner. John Starks came into the NBA, and he was bagging groceries before this at a supermarket. After bouncing between random leagues and barely getting an opportunity, he somehow found his way onto the Knicks in 1988, and once he got his shot, he made history. He became an all-star, he became one of the Knicks' all-time scoring leaders, and he actually posterized Michael Jordan in one of the most legendary dunks ever. That dunk became the dunk and became one of the most iconic moments in Knicks history. He went from bagging groceries to dunking on one of the best players of all time. You really can't write a better script than that. And at number 1, we have Ben Wallace. I've made a video about him, so if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure to check that out here up in the top over his whole entire career. But he is the best undrafted NBA player of all time. I don't think it's up for debate at this point. The only undrafted player in NBA history to make the Hall of Fame. He didn't just make the NBA, he dominated in it. At 6'9", he was considered too small to play center, but what he lacked in size, he made up for with insane defense, elite rebounding, and a relentless motor. After going undrafted in 1996, Wallace bounced around the league before landing in Detroit, where he became the heart of the Pistons. 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, NBA champion in 2004, and one of the greatest defenders of all time. Wallace anchored one of the best defensive teams in NBA history, and shutting down Shaq, Detroit led a title upset, getting their championship in 2004 over the Lakers. He went from undrafted to unstoppable, and he truly is the best undrafted player in NBA history. So, let me know down below what your guys' favorite undrafted player in NBA history is. Like I said, we've only had one guy go from undrafted to the Hall of Fame, but if we look at it, they all have very similar stories. Maybe they were undersized, maybe they didn't have the stats, maybe they didn't have the intangibles, but in the end, once these guys got their shot to go out and prove it, they gave it everything and became a star-level player for their franchise at the time and gave them iconic moments, some of them even giving them championships as well. It really doesn't matter where you start, it matters how hard you work to get where you want to be. And these players went from being completely overlooked to making NBA history, winning championships, and making the Hall of Fame. Let me know down below if there's a player that I forgot to mention today that you guys want to hear about, maybe another undrafted star or a guy that maybe in the past few years went undrafted that you think will become a star later in the NBA. Let me know who that is.